you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to go over the Balanced Estate CoC program competition process. Next slide, please. All right, so for our agenda today, right after this, we're going to do introductions. We're going to go over terms, and we're going to talk about the background of the CoC program funding and competition. Along with that, we're going to talk about parts of the HUD CoC competition, the project selection process, the role of DHCD in the balance of state, and the role of DHCD in the CoC competition, and then what happens after the CoC competition, and then the next steps and questions. All right, so I believe, and I'm not going to assume anything, but I believe everybody has met. If not, met the folks from DHCD, but if not, then I will go ahead and introduce myself, and then I will have Brianna do that. So my name is Dr. Wilburn. I am the program manager for the Balanced Estate Living Housing Tax Credit Youth Homeless Development Program, Housing Opportunity with People with AIDS, Coordinated Entry, along with the DHCD constituent phone that we have. And it is indeed my pleasure to be a partner with such great folks. And next, I will introduce the person that leads me every single day.
Morning still. Good morning, everybody. I'm Brianna Green. I'm the program administrator for the Balanced Estate, and thank you all for joining today's meeting.
Absolutely. Next slide, please. So when we talk about terms, again, level setting on the terms, these are terms that you guys know and definitely use every single day, but we just want to make sure that we're clear on them. CoC, or Continuum of Care, a community-wide planning body that is responsible for coordination and delivery of housing and supportive services. And Housing First, an approach to quickly and successfully connect individuals and families experiencing homelessness to permanent housing without preconditions. And when we talk about preconditions, we're talking about, not having a sobriety as a condition, not having going to treatment as a condition, or not having attending of religious services as a condition. Okay. So coordinated entry, again, this is the initial process in which people get connected, whether it's individual, whether it's housings, they get connected so that they have access to fair and equal access to getting connected to housing. Okay, there should be a robust opportunity when it comes to connecting people when it comes to coordinated entry. Next slide, please. Rapid rehousing. This is where individuals and families that are experiencing literal homelessness should be moved quickly to permanent housing so that way they have housing stability. And then, of course, permanent supportive housing. This is a community-based housing for individuals or families experiencing chronic homelessness and disabilities. Again, the housing intervention does not designate a length of stay, and services must be available. Again, key is services must be available, but may not be required. Next slide, please. Transitional housing, rapid rehousing, joint housing project to help communities provide crisis housing with financial assistance and wraparound supportive services needed by program participants to quickly move people to permanent housing. And supportive services only, we don't do that, so we can move on from that. How the system works, federal funding and the balance of state. So federal funding comes to the Continuum of Care, or the CoC program. HUD distributes these funds through an annual competition, is which we're about to get started on, for funding different housing opportunities. The program flows funding through the CoC to the entities, and that the CoC provides that funding for those projects that are committed to ending homelessness. And again, I want to say, when submitting these projects, number one, they should make sense, and number two, they should meet a community need, because that's what DHCD is looking for and HUD is looking for as well. Eligible projects would be rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and transitional housing, rapid rehousing projects. Through this funding, the local planning groups access funds for new projects and renewal projects for current projects within their communities. How it flows. So HUD issues fundings to the CoC. Within the CoC, Virginia has 16 continuum of cares, which also includes the balance of state. The balance of state does the collaborative application, which is comprised of the 12 local planning groups. Those 12 local planning groups are comprised of home service providers, landlords, community service boards, domestic violence providers, and also faith-based organizations and educators. So our local planning group in this CoC is comprised of those 12 local planning groups, and those are highlighted in the colors on this particular map. So everybody should know where everybody's located. Next slide, please. And if anybody wants a copy of that, then certainly we'll be delighted to send that out to you if you desire. And I believe I'm going to turn it over to Brianna.
Yeah, that is correct. So thanks, Dr. Wilburn, for going through those pieces. So we also wanted to speak more to the processes that are included in competition. So first is the project selection, which identifies the projects that the CoC will be recommending to HUD for funding. And second, there is the application narrative piece to the competition. So HUD requests information regarding the operations of a continuum of care since the last competition, which can include collaboration with new partners and different systems like the healthcare system or public housing authorities. DHCD is responsible for completing the application narrative, which is included in the submission of the consolidated application, and both the project selection process and the application narrative make up the consolidated application and are submitted on behalf of the entire balance estate. HUD requires that CoCs follow the following process for project selection, and this includes an eligibility review, and this is completed through the pre-application process. And the pre-application process is for new projects, and this would also include renewal projects that are interested in expanding their project. Then there is a local competition. This is for new and renewal projects, and these projects are reviewed by a panel of representatives from the CoC. And this panel is called the Ranking Committee. Any organizations who are submitting new or renewal projects are not eligible to participate on the Ranking Committee. And once the Ranking Committee review is completed, notification goes out to projects on whether their project will or will not be included in the consolidated application submission. We also wanted to spend some time today going through some helpful questions for project design for the pre-application. So when completing the pre-application, ensure you ask yourself, what type of project am I applying for? Is it eligible for this opportunity? Who is my target population? How will my project implement the Housing First approach? How will my project coordinate with current housing providers in the community? Am I currently a part of a local planning group, and is my project feasible? So DHCD does the initial review regarding eligibility of the project, and DHCD then provides feedback to the project applicant regarding project design. And ultimately, the project applicant decides whether or not they will apply for a new project during the local competition once that process begins. So what is the role of DHCD in the balance estate? Our role is to serve as the lead agency for the continuum of care, and we do this by working in collaboration with the steering committee to make all formal decisions, to strategically plan and goal set, establish priorities and make decisions about allocation of CoC resources, and monitoring and evaluation of both system-wide and individual performance. We also are responsible for providing technical assistance and support to the local planning groups that comprise the CoC, support any efforts made by local planning groups to increase program and community capacity, and by disseminating information to all members of the local planning group. So as it pertains to the CoC competition, DHCD is responsible for creating the pre-application, convening the ranking committee, and I did just want to note that we do not participate in the ranking process, but rather support the process of the ranking committee convening. We are also responsible for contacting applicants and then informing local planning groups of funding decisions from HUD. And as I stated earlier, we are also responsible for submitting the consolidated application to HUD, which includes the project selection and narrative portion of the application. We wanted to also spend some time going through some of the pieces after competition. So once HUD identifies who they will be funding, the project applicant will be in direct contract with HUD. The project applicant will also be responsible for project level reporting. And even though the project applicants are in direct contract with HUD, DHCD does provide support for the implementation of the project, and we are here to support you all every step of the way. DHCD also has a separate relationship with the project applicant and HUD. So starting with the relationship between HUD and the balance of state, HUD will reach out to the balance of state staff if there is any support needed, and this can include technical assistance that may be needed as well. The balance of state is also responsible for any system level reporting to HUD, and this includes a point in time count and housing inventory count information, along with some other reports as well. So the relationship between the balance of state and the project applicant is that we support the planning for the project and also provide any technical support that may be needed as well. And this can include any challenges you all are facing or just any questions that you may have in regards to the implementation of the project. Ultimately, anything that you all need support with, you can reach out to us around. All right, so next steps include the submission of the pre-application for new projects or expanding projects and is due to balance of state staff by 11:59 on July 8th. And if anyone on this call is interested in serving on the ranking committee, please inform your local planning group lead and then balance of state staff as well. And I think that is it for our formal slides. Yeah, so we just wanted to open it up for questions that you all may have now. So feel free to come off mute or drop any questions you may have in the chat.
Hey, this is Rebecca. Oh, my camera worked. Okay. I was wondering, because I know in the past when we had done our, when we had worked with our DV provider to complete, to submit a project, we had received the feedback. It's been about a year. And we've been, pulling other data and doing the things that we need to do to bulk up that particular application. Since then, obviously, we've had other agencies, say, show interest as well, that are current grantees or part of the balance of state local planning group. My question, I guess, is, do we decide locally what the best application, what the best pre-app would be to submit, or do we submit them all?
You're on mute, Dr. Wilburn.
It's because I got my camera on, but I don't have my mic on. I thought it was the same. Yeah, Rebecca, in regards to that, I mean, it's going to be up to you guys. But here's what I would say to that. One of the things that I'm always stressing is it has to make sense and doesn't meet the community need. So you may end up having to incorporate all of that into one versus having 4 or 5 of them. But again, main thing, does it make sense? And I think there's where you're going to be able to narrow it down. Well, this doesn't make sense that we've got 4 or 5, and this just makes sense that we just have one of them. And then is it a meeting a community need? It can meet everybody's need just by having that one application. So But again, it's something I'm not going to discourage you from doing that. But again, when I certainly look at the application, I mean, and that's where it comes down to the balance of state looking at something and saying, well, again, this may not fly, when it comes to submitting this to the federal government. So, but there's where we'll have a conversation. But you know how it goes. You and I, or you folks out there can always have a conversation with me about that. But as long as it's meeting that community need and it makes sense, and I think that's where you'll come up with the answer with. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Who else?
So I have a question. So for those of us that are doing renewal projects, I know that for us, we're getting ready to start the new year. We run on a weird year. I think it's September to August, but we have a new amount this year. So my question is, when I go to do the renewal, am I going back to my original award or am I going to my new award?
New award.
Okay,
New award.
thank you.
Yep. Mhm. Well, one of the things, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Earlier this year, we had a grant writing presentation. I would certainly encourage everyone out there, if you do not have a grant writer, or even if you do have a grant writer, I would encourage you to get a hold of Brianna and have her send you out that presentation again. Caitlin did a grant writing presentation for the steering committee, and she did a fantastic job. But I encourage you to just brush up on that grant writing presentation, because again, that's going to be a big help when you start to write your application, and it will be a big help even in your pre-application. I think you'll have a great benefit if you do that. No other questions?
Dr. Wilburn, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
So we will be, for cash, we will be renewing the YHDP application for 2026, correct? Through
Correct.
snaps. Okay, thank you.
That's it. No more questions. Everybody's ready to submit a pre-application that makes sense and meets a community need. I'm loving it. Great. Well, listen, if anybody, as Brianna alluded to in her presentation, if anybody has any questions or if you have any concerns, please reach out to us. That's what the balance of state is there for. We will certainly, do our best to guide you through this process. Again, we had a great last year, and my hope this year again, we'll be able to fund all these projects. And Rebecca, I'm 100% with you. This year, we've already, just to let everybody know, on the questions this year, we've made some. There was some recommendations last year about the DB questions. So we've already looked at making some changes to the DB questions so they make more sense. And not only that they will help when the ranking committee is scoring the application. So hopefully that's going to help this year as well. So we're looking forward to that. But again, you guys, please don't hesitate to reach out to Brianna or myself if you guys are looking for some technical assistance, or you have some questions, or you have some concerns as we get ready to go through that process. Again, July 8th is the date that's been set at, I think it was 11:59. I think I will still be out on vacation come then, but I know Brianna's just so excited and ready to start receiving those pre-applications. Yeah, I'm leaving next Thursday, and I will be back here until July the 11th. Yeah, that's right. I'm not in Pinehurst there, Mary Beth, but I'm certainly going to be enjoying myself while I'm out. But again, if nobody else has anything, I'm going to give you your life back. Again, thank you guys so much.